4 years ago, I buried my daughter. Her death threw my husband and I into a world we knew absolutely nothing about. Every day, there are more and more parents finding themselves in this same place, and that includes parents of all these precious kids who are killed in school shootings, which has now horribly become almost common in our nation. My name is Laura Diehl, and as a grieving parent, one thing I discovered very quickly is how dark of a place it is to lose a child, no matter the cause of the death or the age of the child. I also discovered that people think we should just be able to get past our grief and heal and be back to normal in maybe a few weeks or a few months even. As grieving parents, most of us either isolate ourselves to keep people away from us who have these kinds of expectations of us, or we learn how to just put on our happy face and pretend like we're okay because that's what everyone around us wants. And while on the inside, we are completely shattered. We hide our pain behind closed doors, thinking we're losing our minds trying to cope with this loss on our own. One of the only safe places for us as bereaved parents is with each other. When someone says, "It's been 8 months and the pain hit me so hard, I couldn't even get out of bed today," or "This is the second birthday without my daughter, and it hurts even worse this year than it did last year." Or maybe a mom who says, "I was in the grocery store the other day and I saw my son's favorite cereal, and even though it's been 5 years, I fell apart in the store and I had to leave my grocery cart there and I ended up out in the car crying for an hour." When we hear these kinds of stories from other bereaved parents, we're immediately there to comfort them and let that hurting parent know that these things are actually normal after losing a child. Another thing that I've discovered is that the people around us don't mean to hurt us with their words or their actions. They've just never faced what we're facing. And there aren't very many grieving parents out there willing to let those around us come into our dark world. And the extra pain of the unrealistic expectations of the people around us is just too risky to let people in. Can I share with you one of the worst things that can be said to a grieving parent, causing most of us to either lash out at the person who says it or to quickly just scratch them off our list of someone we can go to in our pain? It's when a person tries to empathize with us by comparing their loss to our loss. Something like, I know what it's like. I know how you feel. I lost my grandma 6 months ago and we were really close. Or maybe something like, I lost my dad 2 years ago and it really hurt. I cried all the time for weeks. I know how you feel. Comparison never helps anyone in life or in death. You can't possibly know how I feel about my child no longer being here on this earth based on the death of your grandma or your aunt or your best friend or a dog or even a spouse. I know you mean well in trying to let us know that you can relate to the pain and the grief of death, but please don't tell me that you know what it's like for me to bury my child unless you've done so yourself. It would be a lot better to just simply say something like, "I am so sorry for your loss." Maybe, I can't imagine what you must be going through right now. A lot of parents who go to generic grief support groups don't last very long because they can't relate to the discussions. They aren't about how to deal with the short term or the lifelong issues a parent finds himself dealing with on a daily basis after losing their child. Most grieving parents will end up looking for a group of other bereaved parents to help them navigate through the suffocating black waters because it's such a unique and extremely difficult loss for many reasons I won't go into on this video. Which brings me to something I'm actually really excited to let you know about. Finally, you can know how to help grieving parents. Even if you've said or done the wrong things in the past for someone who's grieving, or you've never experienced it yourself, this book, Come Grieve Through Our Eyes, How to Give Comfort and Support to Bereaved Parents by Taking a Glimpse into Our Hidden Dark World of Grief, is a rare book that opens the door to the raw and real life behind the masks of dozens of grieving parents. This book, Come Grieve Through Our Eyes, has already opened the eyes of many people who've read the words of these grieving parents. And now it's your turn to put their words to work for those you love and care for who have lost a child from this earth. I'd like to share with you some of the early reviews from those who have read Come Grieve Through Our Eyes. I'm just going to take some little pieces out of just a few of the endorsements here. Leanne says, from the moment I started reading the first chapter right to the final chapter, I wanted to share Come Grieve Through Our Eyes with my friends. I know so many that I feel need to read this book due to my experience after we lost our baby. Carrie says, as bereaved parents, Come Grieve Through Our Eyes is a tool we can put in the hands of those around us, allowing us to be set free of these kind of damaging words and actions of those who don't mean to hurt us. And now we have the help and support we need. Alyssa says, I have personally lost 2 children through miscarriages, and those around me did not allow me to acknowledge my loss. While reading Come Grieve Through Our Eyes, I found myself crying, finally being permission to grieve. What Laura has written will touch you in unexpected ways and is definitely worth reading and sharing with others. Randy says, as one who has dealt with significant losses over a number of years, I have thankfully not dealt with the loss of a child. Come Grieve Through Our Eyes helped me understand a parent's unique perspective, which is very different view from other grief situations. If you care about someone who's experiencing this kind of pain, you will want to know how to support and help them through it. Come Grieve Through Our Eyes is the place to begin. And the last one here is from Kathy. She says, when we lost my husband's brother and sister, we both said we never imagined it could hurt this bad, and our lives continued on. But when our son Josh died, neither one of us wanted life to go on. Now, after losing our son, both of us say we don't know how his mom did it. Come Grieve Through Our Eyes is for people who truly want to understand what we are feeling and aren't afraid of the truth. This book, Come Grieve Through Our Eyes, covers specific issues grieving parents are forced to deal with on a daily basis that the people around us don't realize or think about. These are actual words, raw and unedited, coming from bereaved parents who are facing these difficult issues. When you read Come Grieve Through Our Eyes, you will discover things like why coming up to the anniversary date of the death can be worse than the day itself, what most bereaved parents fear the most, and how you can easily be someone to alleviate that fear. The strange truth about what you should never expect from a grieving parent and how that directly affects your ability to help them. What commercial blindsided thousands of bereaved parents, ruining one of the most carefree days of the year, and why that's important for you to know. Why you can be just as powerful, if not more, than a trained counselor in the life of a bereaved parent. How to know what a grieving parent needs down the road. The secrets to knowing how to be a person of strength, healing, and hope to a grieving parent. And I'll even tell you what a grieving parent will rarely talk to anyone else about except other bereaved parents, and it's something we need to talk about. And if you know this, the grieving parent in your life will be able to talk to you when the need arises. And that's just a small part of what you will learn. After you have finished reading Come Grieve Through Our Eyes, what once appeared confusing and mysterious and maybe even frustrating about bereaved parents will suddenly become clear and make a whole lot of sense. So, how can you get this book? Well, the bad news is, as of the recording of this video, Come Grieve Through Our Eyes is not available for purchase yet. But the good news is you can get the first 2 chapters right now. And the great news is you can pre-order it on Amazon to be one of the very first ones to have it in your hands. And you can join us for a free live video launching of Come Grieve Through Our Eyes. This event will be on November 16th, 2015 from 8 to 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Those who are part of the launching will get to meet me, Laura Diehl, the author, via live video. There will be a drawing for a $50 gift card and several signed copies of the book. So just in case you're not sure if you want to join in on the live launching of Come Grieve Through Our Eyes to be able to meet the author and win prizes and receive the first 2 chapters free for right now, I'm going to throw in some other items for you. When you sign up to be part of the live book launch, you will also receive a list of specific things to avoid saying to a grieving parent. This PDF will help you know immediately what not to say to someone who's lost their child. Plus, it also tells you what some of the best things are to say and do to a grieving parent to bring them comfort in their time of deep loss. And I will also send you part of my next book, When Tragedy Strikes, Rebuilding Your Life After the Death of Your Child. It's being published by Morgan James Publishing, and it will be out in stores in July of 2016. This book, When Tragedy Strikes, was written specifically for grieving parents from my passion to offer a hand of hope to these parents who are navigating through the dark, swirling waters of the death of their child. It's been endorsed by people like Daryl Scott, who's the father of Rachel Scott from the Columbine school shooting, by Dr. Gloria Horsley, who's an internationally recognized grief expert and founder of Open to Hope, by Wayne Jacobson, who is a co-author of the book The Shack. It's being endorsed by a dozen or so of bereaved parents, several pastors, and ministry leaders. So, to sum things up, when you sign up for the live video launching of the book, Come Grieve Through Our Eyes, you will also get Chapter 15, which is titled The Support Beam, from my book coming out, When Tragedy Strikes, and it's not going to be in bookstores until July of 2016. You will get a PDF of 8 things to avoid saying to grieving parents, and it also includes things that you can do to help a grieving parent. You will receive the first 2 chapters of this book, Come Grieve Through Our Eyes, right away. Plus, those who attend the launching will be eligible to win a gift card, a $50 gift card, and a signed copy of my book. So to register for this book launch and join me on November 16th, just click the button on the bottom of this video and you'll be taken to where you need to go for that registration. This book, Come Grieve Through Our Eyes, is the best way to know how to be there as a comfort and strength for bereaved parents in their dark, hidden world of grief. It was written specifically for this purpose. After reading this book, you can have something that goes beyond condolences and sympathy. You can have compassion at a level that will help them and be a strength to them at their deepest level of need. I want to end by saying thank you for allowing me this time to share with you. Just click on the button below to register for the book launch, and I'll see you soon on November 16th.